Hello YouTubers and fellow hams. Haven't done a Linux video for a little while, and I thought we'd tackle one that I've been thinking about doing for quite a while. Building software from source. Compiling programs. It's a task that a lot of new people coming to Linux hear about and go, whoa, no, that's, wow, that's big. It's really not that hard. Compiling programs used to be quite a chore. It required massive long command lines, tons of different tools, a whole bunch of steps. Of course, that was more than 10 years ago. In recent years, tools were developed to make the building of software more automated, more convenient and easier for the average user. And we're going to be using those tools, and it simplifies the process down to just a few steps. Which is basically just maybe downloading a few additional needed packages and running a couple of commands, well, 3 commands in total, to build and install software from source code. So it's really not that hard. I'm going to walk you through it. Now, I'm going to be doing this on the latest version of Ubuntu, 17.10. These instructions will work on anything that's based on Debian, which is most of the popular distributions, including Linux Mint, Debian itself, and of course Ubuntu. And this will work back a couple of versions too. I've tested and done this on Debian 8 and on Ubuntu 16.04, and it'll work just fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to build the latest available version of FLdigi. Now I have, let me switch my arrangement around, here we go. I have here Ubuntu 17.10. This is a straight out of the box installation, so it's just as you would get it on first boot. And for Ubuntu 17, there's one extra step we need to do here. See this little gear? Click that and choose Ubuntu on Xorg. They've got a newer display manager, the graphic environment where you see your desktop and the windows and everything. They've got a newer version that they've developed. We don't want to use that for this. We want to run it on Xorg. Now this should only apply to the latest Ubuntu. So click this little gear, select Ubuntu on Xorg, and then log in as normal. And we should get our desktop. There we are, a bog standard Ubuntu install. Now, we're going to be installing some software packages, and my favorite tool for that is Synaptic. You'll find that it's not there by default. Nothing comes up. So we're going to need to open a terminal. And first thing that we are going to do is install Synaptic. So sudo, which means super user do, apt-get install Synaptic, Synaptic. It'll ask for your password, and it'll do the installation. Okay, I'll move this terminal aside for the moment. So now we've got Synaptic installed. That is a package manager. It asks for your password because it's going to be installing software on your system. It needs access. And here we are in Synaptic. Now, as I've pointed out in previous videos, this is a great way to install pre-built software on a Linux installation. You get a nice list of the programs, you get categories for the different programs, and you get descriptions of what these files are. So it's really handy for searching and installing things. Now we are actually going to be using Synaptic a couple of times during this tutorial, and we'll come back to it as we need it. But right now, I'm going to install FLdigi first off, because every version of Linux in the past, well, since the program's been around, has come with FLdigi pre-built, but it's an older version. Okay, you can see I've already sorry, I did install it earlier. I should have uninstalled it for this tutorial, but You'll find it here, and you just check this little box, mark for installation right here, and then hit apply, and that will install it. But as you can see, it's version 4.0.1-1. Okay, I don't believe that's the newest, is it? So I'm going to put Synaptic out of the way for a minute. We'll go to a web browser. They give us Firefox by default under Ubuntu. Okay, in Firefox, I'm going to go and find FLdigi. Here it is, SourceForge. And they should show us the version right here, right? Oh, it doesn't have the version on the front page. Well, we'll go to Files. There's FLdigi. And it's 4.0.12 is the latest version. So we want to upgrade. Now, the Linux files are going to be the source code, which is this one. FLdigi 4.0.12.tar.gz. This is the source code file. So I'm going to click on that to download it. And we'll save file. And it's done. Okay, now I can close Firefox. All right, we'll go to the file browser here and we will take a look at our download. FLdigi. Right-click on it and select Extract here to extract it. That was quick. And here's our downloaded source code. Now, building programs. There are a couple of different tool sets for building programs to make it easier. The older one is simply called Make. And it's a program that automates compiling all the different source files and configuring the source files for your particular computer. I can tell that this one is using Make because first off, I see this file right here, make file, and also I look for this, configure. If I see this, lowercase configure, no extensions, and it's a text file, then I know that we're using make. There's another newer tool for building things called CMake, but that'll be for another video. For this one, we're going to go through make, which I'd say about half of the source code that's out there is written using make, and it pretty much makes it simple. But we need to install that first off. We don't have any of the tools on our default Linux distribution to do compiling of source code. We need to install them. So let's go back to Synaptic. That's why I left it open. And search, and we're going to search for build-essential. Build Essential. These are, if I select this one package, this is going to select all of the different programs that we need for building software. Libraries, there's Make. GCC is a C compiler. G++ is a more generalized compiler that does a bunch of different languages. So this is going to install all the packages that we need to build software for in one go. So I'll mark and apply to install those packages, which won't take very long here. I'm still going to leave Synaptic open because we're likely going to have to go back and install some extra things when we try to build our source code. Programs will usually depend upon various libraries that other people have written to do specific things, like drawing windows or interfacing with the audio on your computer. And some of those libraries will have to be installed. Okay, I'll put Synaptic out of the way. So now we should be set to get started. All right, so I'm going to close this and go back to our terminal window. All right, first thing we're going to do is cd into our downloads directory. and you notice the D is capitalized. If I do an ls, which lists the directory, I can see that we've got our gzip file and our directory in there. So I'm going to cd into that FLdigi directory. And there's all of our files. Okay, now remember I talked about configure. Before I do anything with that, he's got a README file. I'm going to take a look at that and see if it tells us anything about what else we're going to need ahead of time. So I could simply cat the file, which prints it to the screen, but that's just going to scroll on past. I'm going to use a program called less. Less will display a text file and let you go a page at a time. So this is telling us about FLdigi and what it is. Is there any section on building it? Nope, there isn't. Okay, so he's not going to tell us what other files we'll need. We're just going to have to find out the hard way. So here is configure, and we're going to run that. So we type /, meaning the current directory, configure. And it's going to start looking at our system. It knows the configure file is a script, and it knows what FLdigi needs. And it's going to look at our system and test for a bunch of things that FLdigi needs, and it'll give us an error message if it doesn't find something it needs. So there it's checking our compilers, it's checking for all the different libraries and headers that it needs to build FLdigi, and we hit an error. Checking for FLTK-config. No. So it needs something called FLTK-config. I'm going to ignore everything past the dash, and FLTK is what I'm going to look for. So we go back to Synaptic, and we search for FLTK. And here we go. FLTK, are there any libraries? Ah, that's what we're looking for, the libraries. libfltk. The library itself, which is a toolkit for something for programmers, I'm not sure exactly what it does. There's a clue, OpenGL rendering support. It's probably something graphic. So FLdigi relies on this library. And we have the library, so why did it give us an error? Well, we're building software. And since we're building software, we need the development files for that library. See this libfltk-dev? That's what we need, the development files. These are source code files that the compiling program will need when it's building FLdigi. So when configure told us we needed FLTK, this is what it's talking about. The dev file. So I'll check that and I'll mark it for installation. It has a few extras that goes with it, and we'll install it. We might have to do this 2 or 3 times depending upon what else it finds that we don't have that it needs. Sometimes when you download program source files, the README file will tell you what dependencies there are, what you need to install ahead of time before you can build it, and then you can get that done out of the way. Since he didn't tell us, we're just going to have to go one step at a time until we have everything that it needs. Now that I've installed FLTK's development files, I'll run configure again. Should get that where you can see it. Okay, we've hit another error. Checking for PNG, no. The package or script could not be found, it's too old. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Okay, this is what I think it needs here. pkg-config. PNG libs, do I need to call pkg-config? Okay, so we're going to look for pkg. Let's go back to Synaptic and search config. We'll get more specific and see what we find. Uh-oh. This might, no, here we go. PKG config. Manage, compile, and link files for libraries. That's what we need. So I will check that and mark for installation. Is there anything that's PKG config with a dev? No. Okay, so we just need that. PKG config. All right. Apply to install it. See, this is the only really tedious part about this, is getting the dependencies, the extra files that you need to build the software. And like I said, we might have to do this 2 or 3 times for different things. All right, now let's run config again. And now let's see if it gets all the way through. I know it won't. We're going to have to install at least 2 more. Ah, there we go. libpng. All right. Back to Synaptic. No package libpng found. So libpng. And we have libpng 16. And there's a dev file. Let's go ahead and install that. libpng -dev. There we go. I'm selecting there. That's what we're needing. The dev files. Okay. Apply. And we'll run configure again and see what else it's going to need. That's the nice thing about the make tools. This configure file is going to, okay, no package sample rate. All right. Search sample rate. Lib sample rate is in here, but the dev file is not. So we'll select that, mark for installation, apply. And it's installed. And run config again. Okay. One more here, port audio. That's the audio interface that FLdigi uses, so let's go and install that. Lib port audio. No, I don't see a dev file, so let's go down here, port audio 19 dev. That's what we need. All right. Run configure again. I think we're almost there. Hey, it finished. Configuration summary. It's done. All right. And this tells us what we have and what we don't have. So we don't have support for hamlib. If I wanted to have support for hamlib for rig control, I'd need to install that as well. I'm going to go ahead and do that because hamlib is always good to have for rig control. Hamlib. Lib hamlib -dev. Look for that dev. Mark for installation. Apply. Alrighty. Now you could obviously make a list of all of these items and install them ahead of time. I'm just going through this step by step because this is the process you'll go through when you're building source code as you try to figure out what additional things it needs. So I'm going to let configure run. It ran, and you'll notice now it says hamlib yes. So we now have everything successfully configured and we're ready to build the program. And we do that by typing make, M-A-K-E. and that will start the compiler. Uh-oh. Another error. Sound file at H. I'm missing, oh, I must be missing sound file. SND Thought we installed that. Nope. Lib sound file 1-dev. We're missing that. So we'll mark it for installation. Sometimes configure misses one or two. Now, since I've installed yet an additional package, I'm going to run configure again, just to make sure that what configure actually does is it builds a script that make runs. So when you run the program make, it executes the script that configure built, and that way you've got a build script that's tailored to your machine. So now if I run make, yep, we didn't get that error again, so now it's going to work. So now it is compiling the program. Now this will take a while because it has to build every single chunk and piece of FLdigi, and there are, oh, I don't know, 70, 80 different source code files for it. It's made up of components that all work together to make the program. So this is going to take a little while. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch the whole thing. I'll just fast forward the video at this point until we get to the end of the build process. A quick note, you might see some of these warnings pop up during the build process. That's generally okay. These are minor bugs that the author has not yet fixed in the program. And if he's uploaded the source code and when these bugs still exist, they're not game changers. They're not going to prevent the program from working. So if you see some of these that say warning, like that, don't worry about that. We only have to worry if the process stops with an error. Again, don't worry too much about those warnings. In this case, they're just simple syntactical errors that don't really affect the operation of the program. It's just warning him that, hey, you didn't write this quite right. This build process will depend, how long it takes will depend on your machine. I recently did it on my old netbook, which is an old Atom processor at 1.3 gigahertz. And I think it took a half an hour to build. Here I'm on my Tower machine, which is a more modern 4-core hyper-threaded i5 processor, so it's plenty of beef. But on older hardware, it could take a little time. So once you get this rolling, you can go have a sandwich, have a cup of coffee, read a book, play on the radio, make a CW contact. And we're done. FLdigi is completely built and ready to execute. The only problem is it's all within this directory. We need to install it into our system. That means all the program files and everything need to be copied into system directories where they need to go. That is also automated by make. So next I type sudo, means do this as a root, a super user, make install. It'll ask for your password, and it copies FLdigi out into your system. That's it. We just built the latest version, 4.0.12 of FLdigi. Let's prove that. FLdigi, ta-da! 4.012, all ready to go. So that was it. Not too bad, really. Just had to go out and find a few extra things. That's the only tedious part of it. But the make tools make it very easy. So that is how you build the latest FLdigi from source code. Told you it wasn't that hard. Go out and do it. Have fun. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.